Alright, gotta do a video. I'm back in the car, my listening station here. It's where I listen to all my stuff, all my worst to best videos, all that stuff. We're doing Deep Purple got a new one. Equals one, or I call it emoji because it looks like a little emoji face. I got the physical copy here. No, I didn't draw that myself. This is the actual album cover. Not that great, very sparse. I kind of like the little black and white, like hand-drawn looking stuff. Not the best album cover. Doesn't make a good t-shirt. The inside looks pretty cool. And booklet's kind of neat. This is like a weird little ad, but I bought the deluxe. It comes with the little DVD. The DVD was good. I don't know how many times you're gonna watch it. It's just basically, you know, them showing off Simon Mcbride because the new guitarist for the band. When he joined the band and he's on tour and they're setting up a couple of gigs. This just camera crew following him around. How they rehearse like a new arrangement for, the hell was it? I can't remember the song they were arranging. Whatever. Watch the DVD. It was good, but you're probably not going to watch it more than like once, maybe twice ever. Like, you'll watch it again like 3-4 years from now. Let's get into the album. New guitarist. Every time Deep Purple has like a new member or something, it's always kind of like a transition album. From like, you know, when they did Mach 1 to when they got Gillan and Glover in the band, their sound totally changed. When Hughes and Coverdale came in, sound completely changed. Tommy Bolin changed the band. Joel and Turner made him sound like Rainbow. Steve Morse, who's replaced on this, he changed the band again. Don Airey didn't really change the band too much. His was like gradual. This doesn't sound like that dramatic a change as everybody is probably saying all over the internet. So, oh my God, I don't think they've been listening to every damn Deep Purple album like I have. And last Deep Purple one I thought was one of Steve Morse's best, so I got some expectations coming into this one. I was thinking it'd be a big change, but not quite, because Bob Ezrin, he's, what is it, like his 5th or 6th time he's done production. This album, production-wise, doesn't sound any different than the ones for like since Now What On. So let's get into it. I only listened to the album 3 times. I got it Friday morning, listened to it once then. Last night I wrote some notes, listened to it again. My lunch break from work. So let's kind of get into it. As compared to the last few albums, which I thought this doesn't sound that radically different from, the songs are shorter. They dropped a lot of the proggy stuff. They went back to like, you know, simpler songs, but then they do a lot of the like the dueling solos, which is pretty cool. That's like the whole gist of the album. Basically, also think of it this way, like Deep Purple, I kind of compare them with like Van Halen. You had the Ritchie Blackmore was like the David Lee Roth years. Steve Morse on was like the Sammy Hagar years. This doesn't completely go back to like, you know, Ritchie Blackmore style. We're still in like the Sammy Hagar-ness, just with another guitarist. And in this version, with the Gillan Glover version of the band, the Burn and Stormbringer stuff, that doesn't even exist. They're never playing that stuff live, even though when Blackmore was still in the band, he'd whoop out like the Burn riff during a concert. Ian Gillan never sang to it or nothing like that. Wow, 4 minutes in, I still haven't talked about one song. I thought I was going to make this one short, but no, we're just talking off the top of our heads, and I'm throwing stuff at you. Simon Mcbride, he was in like, he's been kicking her. He's an obvious choice. He was doing projects with like Ian Gillan and Don Airey, and so he was probably the perfect person to pick. Although I would have liked they went with a complete nut like, you know, Tommy Bolin, the complete like, you know, party animal, comes in and the band's over with like 1 year later. No, they got a total professional. He mixes well with. In that documentary, they show him and Don Airey hanging out like the whole time. So that was kind of cool insight to it. But let's get into some of the songs. First song, Show Me. I wrote like a little sentence about each song while I was re-listening to it again. First back and forth on it, solid start. Second song, a bit on the side. I looked it up. I think they're playing this one live. Cool, heavy chug. Don was using some new sounds, kind of a retro synthy thing, like a Moog, I don't know. Thought it was kind of cool. Sharpshooter, another solid song, but you kind of heard that type of song from Deep Purple again. Doesn't like, break the mold or anything like that, but it's good. None of the songs on it are bad. It's, how long was this? I had that written down. I think it was like 53 minutes. 13 songs, 53 minutes. My thoughts were they should have dumped maybe 2 or 3 songs. I like shorter albums because shorter albums and less amount of tracks, the other ones stand out more. The Portable Door, the big single off of it. They're playing that live. That was a sick back and forth. It is one of the best songs on the album, so that was like a good single. All the songs on it are only about 4 minutes long too. There's no big long epics. There's no, Child in Time or nothing like that. None of the proggy songs from the last few albums. More like the shorter, tighter rock songs and boogies and stuff like that. Old Fangle Thing. Here's my sentence. Another mid-paced banger. Walking bass line reminds me of the bit from Fire in the Basement, from Slaves and Masters. That was a good one. If I Were You, this one I wrote like 3 sentences on. So a Better When a Blind Man Cries. I don't like When a Blind Man Cries. That's not one of my favorite songs. They will not have a concert without playing that song, which I don't get. But it's a better version of that kind of like slow ballady thing. One of the best on the albums. Simon Mcbride sounds a lot like Steve Morse on the solo, and the chord changes. I was like, well, who actually, when they're doing it's the Don Airey thing, because the chord changes on this during the solo, like chops like that. That must be a Don Airey thing, because it's here and Steve Morse is gone. And I don't remember that from back in the 80s. Something like that sounded like that on like Perfect Strangers or nothing. But the chord riff sounds signature, but I never thought who wrote them until you subtract who was in the band. So it must be Don Airey. That's what I was thinking. And the solo sounds a lot like Steve Morse on that, tone-wise and everything. Because he's using a PRS guitar. And Steve Morse used to use a Music Man. That's kind of still another. I was hoping, well, they get a new guy. Before I actually heard Simon, I hope they get a guy who plays a Strat, or maybe even a Les Paul. That was like an old school crunch. One of my critiques is like Simon Mcbride. Like he's good, especially when live. I saw some of the stuff live. He does pretty good justice to them in playing all the old classics. I want some. I was kind of hoping like they would have brought in somebody who has a Strat. All right, Pictures of You, decent, not very memorable. I actually can't remember the song. I've only listened to it 3 times. It's hard to download the album into your brain. I want to get this damn video out before the end of the weekend. The whole internet already reviewed it. I'm saying nothing. Decent, but it's a little bit samey at this point. That was track number 8. That was probably one of the ones I would have cut. I mean, none of the songs are bad, and it's like, oh, that's horrible. It's not that kind of album where it's got some. It's like some songs. You would have, if that was like a bonus track, you'd that's a good bonus track. Lazy Sod, they're playing that live. That's a memorable one. It's a boogie type song. It's a single. It's a bit of a banger. Now You're Talking, the fastest song on the album. This is I remember thinking this was like, if this was a song from like the 70s or even like in the 80s, this would be like fast, like Gypsy's Kiss or something, or Dead or Alive, because their tempo's a little bit slow. I don't think they can thrash out like that anymore. Ian Pace, he's getting a little older. He's still a master drummer, but he's not like doing like crazy wicked fills like I think they still play it live, but like Fireball, he's not like going like berserk. He's kind of more reserved. Although he's been kind of reserved since Perfect Strangers, to tell you the truth. They don't let him off the chain. like he used to. Actually, in Whitesnake, he wasn't. He's a bit more reserved, a little bit more jazzy, not like spastic and crazy. But that's my critique of that. Even though they went back to like kind of a harder, heavier sound, he kept it jazzy instead of like heavy. No Money to Burn. I like that song. That was a really good one. Number 12, I'll Catch You. Another one, A Blind Man Cries type ballad. Or kind of like, I also wrote, or Wasted Sunsets. Sounded like from Perfect Strangers. Not as good as the first When a Blind Man Cries I wrote. It was a 6 solo though. Yeah, that was another good one by Simon. And the 13th song, they went back kind of like the proggy type stuff again, off the last few albums. I'm like Après Vous. If you listen to the Now What album from 2013, the first Bob Ezrin one that he produced, like songs like Après Vous, where it had like all these cool play. That's what Don Airey like brought to the album and changed everything. He brought more like instrumental stuff with songs within the songs. A lot more than like it kind of goes back to like the early Mark I stuff. Like that's what like John Lord would do. He kind of did that, but now with like more synthesizers and stuff. Let me read it. Probably the most adventurous song on the album, Takes Different Turns. Cool if it's their last song, but they already fooled us with thinking the last studio album was their last album, because there was the last track on that was the first song off the first album, Any Address. But then they did that covers album that came out after, and it's like 2 albums ago, so they're gonna make more. Rolling Stones are in their 80s. Deep Purple's a few years behind them. They're gonna keep going, because Ian Gillan's voice is still good. That's another thing I'll throw in here. I think he only went for the high notes once on this, kind of strained, but he kept it like when he sings, he's got like a lot of personality, so he can get away with not being like old school Ian Gillan. He's still like an entertaining singer. So he would be the one you'd worry about the most on this. But there was no worry. Like he's still good, he's still entertaining. He's just singing differently. What's my other stuff I got in here? Yeah, like I said, it's like if you're looking for like an old school Blackmore album, this still isn't it. But it doesn't matter, because if you were a fan of Deep Purple for like the last 25 years, you're cool with this album. That's what I thought. I wrote about old Mike. Guy I worked with, I'm Mike. He was an older Mike. He's like in his early 60s. He always talks with love about like the 70s and stuff like that. I don't know if he'd like this album. Actually, no, I think he might. Because it's still cool, classic, but I don't think he'd like the rest of the Steve Morse era stuff. You might have went and got into this, because like to him a new Deep Purple album is Perfect Strangers. Let me try and get like better into the light here, because the sun's going down. Yeah, if you haven't given the band a chance since like the 80s, or their only album you have is Deepest Purple, you might not like this. But if you're like a fanatic, you're loving this album. For like grading it as like a post Blackmore, it's not as good as Perpendicular. That was like a game changer for them. Then I'm going to do like a worst to best of like post Blackmore, Blackmore-less albums, because there's 10. If 9 with Morse and McBride, and then the 10th one I think it's 10 with Tommy Bolin. Kind of want to do one of that, so stay tuned. So yeah, all right. That's almost 15 minutes on an album. That's a lot to talk about. I think I covered everything. I have other notes, but we don't need that. I even did the DVD. So like, share, subscribe. We're gonna do worst to best non-Blackmore Deep Purple albums coming soon. Probably get that out by the end of the week. So, and I already filmed some more toy videos. I was gonna start posting them again, but this kind of got in the way. This took precedence. So thanks for watching.